Then Muktananda is going to give an unclutching meditation, which is, this presentation is going to be part lecture and part experiential as well. So you should come out of here both informed and very blissfully relaxed. That will be our goal. If we achieve that, we've met our goals. Then Dr. Aranke, who's a practicing neurologist, who's connected with Nichandeshwara Paramashiva Hindu Temple in Houston, and Dr. Sandeep Pandov, who's a hospitalist connected with Johns Hopkins, Howard County, and Dr. Nirmala Shivaji, who's a practicing anesthesiologist, who's connected with Nityananda Meditation Academy, are going to be giving a talk on neuroscientific approach to mental health, and then a discussion about some lifestyle aspects that support positive mental health and higher consciousness. Then we're going to have another experience of pranayama, like a breathing. And then finally, I'll give a conclusion and a call to action. And for everyone who is able to stay, we're going to have a kriya, which is a technique for stress reduction. That'll be really nice. So it should be a very enriching and enlightening experience for everyone. And we're very happy to have you here. Briefly, this Science Summit is geared at how we can bring new scientific innovations to help the UN achieve its sustainable development goals. We picked goal number 1, no poverty, number 3, good health and well-being, and number 16, peace, justice, and strong institution work. And I'm going to posit that the cost of less than optimal mental health is so much higher in terms of lost potential. And that if we really optimize people's mental health in a very comprehensive way, the benefit will be much beyond 2.5 trillion or 5 trillion and really unquantifiable. So now we're going to move, Dr. Muktananda is going to give a brief intro to.
Of course, all of these are super critical, super important, and we tend to focus on coping with daily challenges and relationships more often than not when it comes to mental health, because that's what happens on a regular basis. But to emphasize that mental health is not just short-term, but it's also long-term. And part of our presentation today is going to focus on the long-term, right? So there are 3 aspects to mental health. One is treating after the problem has happened, but 2 important, very much focused on treatment, which is after the fact and super expensive. And it tends to focus on emotional, psychological, and social aspects of mental health. Like emotional means, can we handle stress and emotions? Can we handle anxiety? Psychological is, can we change the thoughts to control thoughts? Maybe think of happier things. It's more like positive thinking. And social is, can we manage jobs and relationships? Can we manage the environment around us? To be truly sustainable, which is what our beliefs from life negative cognitions to life positive cognitions. This is so critical. I'll talk a little bit more about this in a bit. And finally, instead of thinking of mental health as just maintaining and managing the jobs and relationship, think of it as a spiritual quest, right? Realizing our peak potential. That is really what that help you unlock your true potential by breaking free from limiting patterns. Let's look at this a little bit more in the next slide. So next slide, please. See, powerful cognitions go beyond positive thinking. They go towards transforming or seeing things while blindfolded using the pineal gland. This actually has been affirmed by research. Scientific research has shown that some people can achieve something like this, which no ordinary person would think of themselves as capable of, but we are capable of extraordinary things. So a powerful cognition would be something that alters how you see yourself. Like the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism said, we are not human beings striving for a spiritual experience.
So this presentation is brought to you by Nityananda Hindu University. I'm representing the research department of Nityananda Hindu University. And this is a university that is styled after the ancient Vedic, ancient Hindu universities from antiquity. This is, a being we could talk about all day. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nityananda Paramashivam, who is, as per Hinduism, he is an incarnation of Paramashiva, which is the primordial divinity. And starting from birth as a yogi, he has achieved high consciousness and enlightenment and incarnation status. And from that space, he has reestablished the United States of KAILASA, which is a Hindu to Bhagavan Nityananda Parameshivam, sometimes as Swamiji, which is a way that we refer to him, which is an address of tremendous respect and tremendous affection because of the positivity he's brought to our life. So, participants, which you'll see some remarkable findings, and then we're going to talk about what is going on in the mind and brain and consciousness of Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nityananda Parameshivam, who I also call as Swamiji. And so the Dr. Rao, he drew blood and measured gene expression before and after the program. And they looked at hundreds of different genes being expressed, and they found huge changes in gene expression in multiple pathways. But the ones I'm going to highlight here are the pro-inflammatory pathways, which create inflammation in the system, which will, at the cellular level, be inflammation, but at the system-wide level will show up as stress and disease. Many of these pro-inflammatory pathways were downregulated. And when I say downregulated, like the aging system of the cells at the DNA level, when the telomeres and the chromosomes in the DNA get short, then the cell can no longer reproduce and becomes senescent or becomes no longer effective. So maintaining the telomeres long is a job of telomerase. So people who did this program, their levels at the end versus the beginning were pretty universally elevated. About half of them, it was double. And about a quarter of them, almost a third, were triple. So a huge increase in telomerase activity, which we would expect to keep the young person's mental health. So this was a study that was done a couple years ago, and it's being put into manuscript right now. There was another mind-body therapeutic program. This was called Parameshivoham, and we'll show you at the end. It is available online. But again, it's completely organized and run and attended by our Swamiji, and done through teleconferencing, just much like how this meeting is going right now. So we looked at 4 different scales associated with mental health. One is the DASS, which stands for Depression, Anxiety, Stress Scale. One is WHO5, which looks at overall sense of well-being. One is SF36, which looks at overall physical health and some aspects of mental health as well. And the last is MAAS, which is mind-body approach to life. But afterwards, it dropped all the way to 6.1. Average is 18 to 6.1, a huge difference. And for the depression score, anything above 10 means depression. 5.7 is the average. For this, the post scores were 2, 2.7, so much, much lower than average and very far from depression. So this is going to show up as a really great state of well-being. And then we looked at anxiety. Above 8 is considered as an anxious person. The average in the US is around 6, so almost anxious. 5, well-being index. So this goes from 0 to 100, where a higher score is a higher sense of well-being. Less than 50 is going to correlate with depression. And for example, one population we looked at in research was women in infertility. The score is about 53. In many, it'll vary around the world, but many populations will be around 50 or so. In our participants, they started around 60 was seen. And the last one is mindfulness. And this looks at the ability to be present. So this gives you a score from 1 to 6, where 6 will be the most mindful, means completely in the moment, completely present. This is a space people aspire to be in. So Dr. Krishna at a Jim Thorpe Rehab Center in Oklahoma did PET scans and noticed heightened activity in the frontal lobe. That he can create at will beyond normal human. A PET scan measures metabolic activity in the body structure being studied. In this PET scan of the brain, frontal lobes meet right at the area where the samadhi, which is like a superconscious state, connected with the yogic tradition, and healing conditions. It said he is always in a permanent state of meditation. Then this is the one that I think is most fascinating. There's a Dr. William Collins. This was done in 2005 in St. Louis. He's a neurofeedback researcher who was looking at EEG. And he noticed when he got a baseline reading, he kept changing the probes and changing the settings, extreme gamma activity in the whole brain. Also, when he did just a general healing that wasn't specific to the person in the room, again, their whole brain of that person would go into a high gamma activity. So we're positing that this is how an EEG of initiation looks. When a being who has attained this state of consciousness, which I'm calling as a super consciousness, that's a goal of Vedic traditions, yogic traditions, Hinduism, and they transmit it to so when they're healing or a disciple so again, it's a really remarkable thing. One thing that I'd also say is in the ashram, they've done again, when Swamiji is doing initiations to his disciples or people visiting his ashram as well, he puts their brain in gamma waves, high amplitude gamma waves, which is a very specific kind of gamma wave that's almost never seen. So real quick primer on brain waves. Brain waves is the measurement of the electrical activity in the brain through an EEG, which is like an EKG for the brain, electroencephalogram. You can see delta. You'll notice this illustration doesn't have gamma waves. Part of that is because gamma waves, people didn't even know about them until relatively recently, because you normally cannot see them on a normal EEG. They were normally detected with something called a QEEG, where you take a computer and look at the raw data and see tiny little, very, very low amplitude up and down high frequency waves that you can't really see with your naked eye, but the computer cameras dementia. And even in animal models, they've showed if they can induce gamma waves, the plaques and tangles that you see at the cellular level of dementia start to get cleaned up. So the idea is that gamma activity can prevent and possibly even treat Alzheimer's dementia. So if we're looking at Alzheimer's prevention, which is a huge global issue, gamma waves, I think, are definitely what is even more exciting to me. And I've been personally had the opportunity to do EEGs. Some of his very high level disciples are developing this capacity, which means this level, which we're positing as a space of super consciousness, very high level of consciousness that correlates with concepts of enlightenment that have been talked about throughout history. This level, this capacity can be built in people and built in large groups of people over time. So this is raw data of an EEG of a very high level disciple of Swamiji, and you can see gamma activity is over 30 oscillations between these two yogic shaktis that are beyond the scope of this presentation. But while doing these things, they'll describe a very low TPS, which again, TPS is thoughts per second, means completely quiet mind. And their whole sense of space will be just completely spacious and unclutched. So we're really excited about this. I think it has tremendous significance for humanity on many levels. And we're excited to research it further. So we'll be talking a little more at the end. Anyone who's out there who's listening, if you're interested in this space of consciousness and how to recreate it and measure it and study it, please contact us, because this is a field we're excited to dive into. A lot more research has to be done. Real quickly, some lifestyle things. I'm not going to go in detail because I'm over time already. But mind-body consciousness approaches can create this lifestyle in their system. So thank you so much for your listening. I complete for going a little over time. But now we're going to have a beautiful unclutching meditation with Sri Mukta.
Thank you, Dr. Peter. What I wanted to say here is that Dr. Bloomfield talked so much about the state of space where you audio is not audible, Peter.
Sorry, let me get back there. 1 second.
Maintain, fight with, try to destroy, anyway engage, do not do anything with your internal thought process. Just unclutch. And I tell you, it will develop. In few seconds, you will see you are not thinking process. You are beyond your thinking process. You will sit with yourself in a very matured way, highly matured way. Decide to unclutch, disengage, unclutch from all thought process.
when any thought arises, I just say unclutch, which means I disengage from associating with that thought. Typically, our thought currents are one follow the other. First, I think about my house, I'm thinking about my dog in my house, and then the food the dog didn't eat, and so on and so forth. So it's an association of thoughts that creates problem. So if you unclutch from each thought as they appear, then you don't associate them, and then they just become random series of thoughts which don't affect you. That's the whole idea. So initially you can
Flute-like. You hear that?
Do you want to share
You able to hear it?
no.
You able to hear it now?
Yes.
Unclutch from your thoughts. Close your eyes and unclutch from your thoughts. Great. Peter, we pause. Awesome. One of the things that you would have noticed is while you're unclutching is your mind gets disengaged. As your mind gets disengaged from thoughts, we tend to listen to there's no specific time or place where you should do this. You can do it anytime. With that, I'll invite Dr. Arang K. And Dr. Sandeep and Dr. Nirmala to take us on to the next session. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Dr. Arang K. I'm a practicing neurologist in the U.S. In Augusta, Georgia. And I will be sharing a little bit about findings on neuroscience in depression as well. Kind of quantified the mood based on validated scales, looking at anxiety and depression. We have seen that yoga and meditation has a positive effect, but recently we're able to actually look at the brain structure itself and brain flow. Again, we're highlighting how just lifestyle measures which cost very little to nothing, such as yoga, meditation, and diet, can make a huge impact. And it can reduce the costs associated with current treatment model based on medications, therapy, which is expensive, medications have side effects. And so we can go on to the next slide. So many studies have been done on depression, looking actually at the brain Also, depression negatively impacts the basal ganglia, which is a part of the brain involved in pathways for reward, motivation, and feeling pleasure. And so we can go on to the next slide. So not only is the gray matter or the brain cells, are they affected in depression, but also very importantly, the white matter system is affected. The white matter is very important in, this is how different areas of brain communicate. And you can see here social cognition, which lead us to interact well with others. The presental and parahippocampal gyrus and hippocampus are very important for memory and handling your stress. These are enhanced in practitioners of yoga. Areas like the insula, superior temporal gyrus, occipital gyrus, and cerebellum are important for emotional awareness, processing of language and speech, as well as empathy. So being able to empathize with others and relate to others, interact with others. All of these areas are very important for that, and these are enhanced with increased structurally, but also functionally. So we have functional MRI studies which look more than the brain structure. It looks at different areas of brain that are activated at one, during certain tasks. And basically, functional MRI studies have shown that there's increased activation in practitioners of meditation in regions of the brain involved in it. Also, imaging studies have looked at the thickness of the cortex. This contains the brain cells or neurons. And it turns out these are thicker in various brain regions listed there. These are regions that are important for emotions, decision-making, learning, memory, and also the ability to monitor ourselves, to know what's happening within us and our environment, and as well as having self-awareness about fear and anxiety. Well, the dopamine is the brain chemical responsible for the feeling of pleasure or reward. Interestingly, studies in both yoga and meditation practitioners have shown that they have lower levels of a very important hormone called cortisol. This is a stress hormone released at the time that we're stressed out. You may have heard of the flight or fight response, and so this is released. And unfortunately, what this does also is this leads to a cascade of other events in the body, including more inflammation, which ends up...
And then we'll discuss these slides quickly, and then we'll have a very short video and short discussion to follow. Thank you so much, Dr. Pandav.
Hi, this is Dr. Pandav. I practice in the US near Baltimore. And thank you, Dr. Shachi, for the input. Basically, the gut-brain axis is a very important axis. These days, there's a buzzword, healthy gut microbiome. So before we talk about that, we should know what gut-brain axis is. So basically, the brain is connected to the gut by vagus, reducing the anxiety and depression. So this is one impact. And the second impact it does is that it improves the bowel movements. So basically what it does is, since it is high in fiber, so people get relief from constipation, and so there is less of inflammation in the gut lining. So it reduces all the inflammatory bowel, the whole food plant-based diet. The next slide.
Well, you can go very quickly over this, Pandav. I believe we have a video and then a discussion, so you can go very quickly.
Oh. I'll be waiting.
But with the animal, the muscles have a capacity to store muscle memory and biomemory. So when the animals are killed, they leave a tremendous pain, suffering. They are not going to say, let the whole world be blissful and die. No. They leave so much of suffering and die that gets recorded in that muscle memory and biomemory. When you eat that, you will fall into depression for a small...
Are crucial for mental health. And lifestyle changes are critical and sustainable. And objective scientific information now is available showing that yoga and meditation actually expands parts of the brain which are vital for mental health. And the plant-based diet also improves that brain-gut chemistry to improve mental health. So there's various lifestyle practices in Hinduism, which Swamiji is revived.
But through Swamiji, I came to know about Nirahara, which is really a step above that. So essentially, it comprises of taking.
But this was something completely different. So I definitely experienced very similar to Dr. Pandav. Of course, there was weight loss, but that feeling of lightness and energy was definitely there. And it turned out it really wasn't as difficult as one thought. You know, after the first day or two, it actually was not difficult to sustain. And definitely the mind was...
Every summer, allergic reactions. When I go to the garden, even the lawn, I'm really very bad allergy. So I have to take antihistamine all the time. And it actually affected my work style as well. So it was, I think, about 12 years ago, Swamiji introduced the Nirahara Samyama, 12, 13 years ago. The first time I did the Nirahara Samyama, after that, it's completely gone. I don't take any antihistamines. I'm completely...
12 components, 12 aspects of yoga, which is very unique. And of course, other yogas are also part of this lifestyle. And so thank you so much, you guys, for this discussion. We could discuss so much longer. We've met some time constraints. So we're going to move on to the next session, which is a pranayama breathing exercise. Thank you.
That can cool us down, make us like reduce the anxiety, de-stress us. And so I'm going to teach you a couple of pranayama techniques, which will be actually useful later when we go further in this program. So simple technique is called Shitali pranayama, and references are given here. These are all scriptural references. You can search for them online. You can actually find them. Shitali pranayama is a technique to really cool down and exhale through your nose. You will see that this instantly, you will feel that the feeling of coolness in your chest. It really cools you down to the point like you'll actually feel your body temperature go down by a couple of degrees. And breathing out, that's one cycle. Do it 21 times. It's very powerful. The next pranayama I'm going to teach you is called Anapana. It's very simple. It's breathing in through one nostril and breathing out through the other nostril. So you start off by holding your thumb, pressing your right nostril with your thumb, and then breathing in through only your left nostril. And once you've taken a deep breath, close the left nostril and then breathe out through. If breathing out makes you feel stressed because I'm asking you to breathe out twice as long, you don't have to do it. Just breathe out like till the count of 6. Right now, I'm going to only teach you the humming part. Just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and then hum deeply and intensely without stopping. Like as long as possible, just hum. And then when your humming stops, take a quick breath, let the natural breath happen, and then start the humming again. So for example, it sounds like this, nothing else, right? Let's try doing this for a few times. While you're okay, relax. How many of you could feel the humming reverberate inside your head even after the humming, you stop humming? right? You would feel that humming inside your face and in your chest. So the more you practice it, if you do it for like 21 minutes, this humming is a very intense exercise. Great. So these are things you can practice pretty much anywhere. And these are all, and most recently I've applied AI to education. And AI is an amazing area which is useful in mental health. Next slide. And the key challenge here is scale. Like sustainable mental health requires scale. It can be very conversational in asking questions and getting answers. And it can be very personal. It can be personalized without storing personal information. And if you have availability, like access to a phone, a smartphone, you probably can get access to these services. It can be as easy as accessing mail or WhatsApp, for example. And the beautiful thing is conversational AI can actually help address a wide variety of mental health needs. I wanted Nityananda KAILASA has developed as a scalable solution for people to ask questions and get answers. It's very easy. Go to nityananda.ai, or you can use the barcode that's available on the screen. And it's a great, you have to sign in for you to get access, but it's a demo because it can take time. But here I'm going to show you a demo. This is like a video that I captured on my real demo. I captured a video. For example, I'm asking the question, whenever I even stay at work a little bit late, I notice that I'm very anxious about spending time at work and not being able to come home. It talks about how being a bad mother or bad wife only arises from separation between these two responsibilities, and understanding that these two are both parts of you. And if you understand it from that wholeness perspective, you can actually handle the situation in a much better way. So it's a very powerful about facing stress and suggesting yoga and meditation techniques. If you can fast forward this, maybe 10 more seconds. Yeah, so the next example is about, oops, we went too far.
Health, wellness, and holistic approaches. It's my turn to talk about women's mental health issues, incident causes, solutions, and understanding the unique challenges and holistic approaches. The National Institute of Mental Health here shows the incident of mental illness among women. 1 in 5 women experience a mental health stress, anxiety, and depression. Gender-based violence, women are more likely to experience domestic violence, sexual. Look at the modern-day treatments of mental illness. Women seeking treatment to treat their mental illnesses are increased like 55.8%. It's a pretty expensive program, spending about $104 billion US dollar, and many patients either they use medications, cannot be compliant and quit, or they become more and more dependent on medication, but the end results are not permanent cure, and it doesn't address the mental disorders, and usually causes at different levels. In many parts of the world, access to mental health are very limited because it's very expensive. And social stigma around mental illnesses also prevent people to seek the treatment. So by knowing the different reasons for women's mental illness and also the available, the second one by His Divine Holiness, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nityananda Paramashivam, his presidential address on November 7th, 2021. Very powerful words about women. Women, by their very DNA, have the capacity and groundedness to hold an ecosystem or family or a team or a community together. So women have their own intuitive intelligence in the legislative chambers, put their views on forefront. So women hold 80% of leadership positions in KAILASA. While KAILASA's policy stipulates that 33% legislative positions should be held by women, currently women make up 90% of the governance in KAILASA. So when we empower women, they can be great leaders. So we may need a woman president. So at the free physical and mental wellness, this free medical care is provided using various approaches: allopathy, naturopathy, Ayurveda, Siddha. It's again, it's a free medical care is provided, and along with spiritual and psychological support and counseling to all women. So over 10 billion ordains women and allows women to perform temple rituals. This is the real true reviving of the ancient Hindu tradition. So there are 108 free educational economic projects are functioning at KAILASA since 2009. Here are some 5, the most important I'm mentioning here. The KAILASA's Nityananda Lakshmi, the world's first Hindu microfinance project for women. Here it gives the economic freedom to find employment. KAILASA's Ankita program is an educational program. So it's mostly educate female. The next slide.
Only feminine.
Yeah, I think it's a video to be played. Let's hear from Swamiji, his powerful message and a description of a woman by him.
Energy can be given the word. Only feminine energy can be given the word, given the title sacred, because when it is awakened, it does so much in you. Handed over to women, so much good will have happened to the human society, human civilization. Unfortunately, see, if it was handed over to women, it would have been completely family-based civilization. So naturally, everybody would have had their basic needs.
So in summary on women's mental health, yes, women do face unique challenges. It's to be approached at multi-dimensional level. And KAILASA is a model infrastructure, not only empowering women at all levels and empowerment of women. We do get powerful life, whatever you are, wherever you are, to lead a very powerful, healthy life. So for all women, mothers, homemakers, anyone, everyone, get empowered with KAILASA ecosystem created by His Divine Holiness, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Paramahamsa Nityananda. And it's a great, and there is a short video, listen from his powerful words and transforming message to all. Thank you.
Anger, fear, guilt, powerlessness, what all is getting blurted out, vomited by your immature mind. Listen, pen down. Do completion 2-3 times. Sit with mirror, actuate, and making you completely complete and making you manifest powerful cognitions and powers. Till I appear in the mirror, continue completion. And I tell you, I will really appear in the mirror and make you complete and make you manifest powers. When I say, I mean. Just sit in front of the mirror and declare simple integrity to me. Start patterns and incidents, root incidents, everything. Let all the incompletions melt down, be completely burnt away. You will see in your pure inner space and in the mirror me.
Deaths were attributed to drug use. Can we have next slide? So here are some of the unique challenges for children, which includes physical, emotional, and social changes, adversities such as poverty, abuse, exposure to violence, pressure to conform. On the previous slide, in Hindu education system, basic tools to awaken knowledge are taught, and other consciousness-based approaches, which were discussed earlier, practiced on a regular basis, including yoga, meditation, educational. Here is the result of whole brain activation studies for which Bender Gestalt test was performed. This test assesses visual motor skills development. These high scores are indicative of above average results. So this is impressive numbers. On the next slide, we have numbers from Sloan IQ test, which is highly validated intelligent test, measures a variety of capabilities, including comprehension, arithmetic, and visual motor capabilities. And these results showed 50% of students with total English immersion evidence, but policies to change and integrate this education into conventional curriculum would be a good sustainable development. Okay, I hand over to next speaker.
Thank you so much, Dr. Patel. And I'm going to very quickly do our conclusion. Thank you so much to everyone who's made it all the way through and who's interested in researching this possibility, this phenomena that I think is available here in ways it's not been described otherwise. We invite you to collaborate with us to participate in research. Of course, we would appreciate funding. As you can see, there's been remarkable research findings, and all the research we've published has been very remarkable, very outside of the ordinary findings. And we're very sure to see how we can bring this to the world to attain and achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals and bring higher possibilities of mental health and overall life and potential to the global community. So with that, thank you so much for everyone who came. If you're able to stay, we invite you to stay for our kriya, which will be led by Dr. Mukta Ananda. Shall I play the video, Mukta, or do you want to speak first?
Yes. Play the, I think, like I said before, kriya is...
In this energy circulation, energy flow, if there is a disturbance in some part, for example, liver, kidney, or heart, intestine, at some part, if there is a disturbance in this energy circulation, that is when you start developing diseases and disorders and disturbances. Disease, disorders, disturbances expresses in different ways.
The human body has 7 circuits. Blood circuit, circulatory system, G, reaches the different parts of the body through the 72,000 nadis or energy channels. Let's say, for instance, there is a block somewhere in the circuit of pipelines. Then what happens? There is no flow of water. Then you identify and correct the block. Even if the blockage is removed, water has to be pumped in the linear energy, just as the water gets pumped in to the pipeline once the block is removed. When the energy flow is re-established, energy starts flowing and the disease is healed.
Now, on which kriya works.
Kriyas are a unique combination of asanas, pranayamas, and kumbhakas, wherein they are more effective than the individual asanas and pranayamas.
Even for few seconds, if the energy circuit route is aligned and energy is pumped, you are out of the disease. You are out of the disorder. Third, visualizations. Fourth, verbalization means chanting of some mantra internally. See, internally when you create the sound, It's called mantra. Externally, when you listen, it's called chanting. So, mantra, fifth, chanting, external, the sound you are hearing. And sixth, now I am adding karanas, the different Shivadandava karanas. Seventh, I am adding the recent discoveries of modern day gymming and weightlifting. So all these 7 put together.
Stress, hypertension essentially is a high blood pressure which happens because of stress, right? So this kriya has simple 3 steps. It actually builds on top of what we did before, right? Earlier we learned how to do Nadi Shodhana, which is breathe in through one nostril, breathe out through the other nostril, breathe in through that nostril and breathe out. So that with your knees drawn in and your heels touching as close to your body as possible. You just have to look ahead. That's the posture. Peter will show the picture. That's the second step. In that posture, you just hum intensely. And the humming is something I already shared with you before. And so the third step, lie down, and in the bliss of the hum, the humming creates in 21 times. Let's start with that. That's the step 1. Step 2 is this picture. Sit like this picture, holding your knees close to your chest, and then do intense humming. That's for 7 minutes. And then finally, we leave you with the minutes. You can play the music too, Peter. Thanks. Now lie down. With the intense, you will feel the intense humming, the coolness all over your body. Just lie down. You can find out for yourself. So I hope you can practice this meditation before going to sleep every day. It's very powerful, not only in de-stressing, but also in performing to your life's best.
United Nations going forward. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and have a beautiful rest of your evening.
Thank you so much.
Recording stopped.
Thank you.